Welcome back, everybody. So in today's episode, we're going to be finally finishing all of this. We're going to place the rest of the fuel generators back here. We're going to do the rest of the pipes and everything that I need to get done. Where we're at right now, and I've done a lot of the work kind of off screen, just to kind of save you guys some of the monotony of just placing machines over and over and over again and getting them set up correctly. So we have placed a lot of these, about roughly half, and we've started to pipe this stuff over here. So this is fuel. We're actually going to be starting this line right here. It should be about 50 fuel generators, or roughly about 750 7,500 megawatts of power, which should be enough to kind of get everything running over there at our aluminum factory, which is what we need to kind of finish the rest of these belts. This is pretty much running solely off of Mark V belts right now, outside of a couple systems, and I've been really working on getting all of this worked out down here. So all the pipes are pretty much laid down as opposed to connecting them where they need to go. We still have to do... Actually, I believe all these are done. The only thing that needs to be piped is the other side of this over here for our packagers and our water packaging over there as well. So that stuff needs piped. The last little bit that we need is just the belts to kind of finish. And pretty much we're having to figure out how many of these mergers need to be into each of these lines for the 780. So it's coming out to weird numbers. It's 13, and I'm advising 10. So I have 4 of these here, and then I have 9 of them connected over here, and then I have the remainder. And there's just been a lot of that, kind of hooking all that stuff up. So it's been kind of a big headache, but it's really, really close to being done. And it's just, I need more of these Mark V belts. In order to get those, I have to finish the aluminum stuff over there. So we're going to hook up this this stuff real quick. The fuel generators that we talked about, the 7,500 megawatts. And then we're going to see if we can actually get the rest of this running. All right, so we hooked up the rest of this. It's all wired and it's ready to go. We just need to connect that little piece over there. And that should allow the fuel to start coming in and get everything activated. This is similar to what we did in the last video, where it was kind of just, I'm worried to actually start this because I'm worried if I miss something that we're going to have a huge problem on our hand. Because I don't have the spatial awareness to kind of understand exactly how many machines are supposed to be running and what's not supposed to be running. So I think I'd just look at it, and to a certain degree, the only thing you can do is just start it up, hope that it runs. So we're going to do that real quick. And then we're going to kind of take a step back, let it run for a second, and then we'll get back to you guys and see if I did this all correct and what mistakes I made. So as we begin to kind of run this system, we're beginning to learn a lot of the problems that we have. Some of the mistakes that I made, for one, I was originally having these run off of a couple of these shorter lines at the end here, which is only like 6 or 7 of them, which is not enough. So then I switched the line to the bigger line, which is full capacity, which I thought was at full capacity, but it turns out that I hooked these up in sets of 10. It's a 60, and it only makes 600 per belt. And this is hooked up as 13 with the full amount per. So I've got 2 options. One, I can redo all the belting here, or I can redo all the belting here, because this is set up for 600 a minute, and this is set up for 780 a minute. So I got a pretty big decision, because we got to redo a lot if we're going to make this work properly. And yeah, I'm really not looking forward to it, because this is kind of like a really big oof so far on my part, because I've set all these up to run off with 13 all the way down to the end, and I don't really want to fix all that. But we have to if we're going to make this work, so we're going to figure out what we're going to do, make some executive decisions, and we're going to keep moving forward. So this project is kind of coming to a bit of a halt. I know I said I wanted to finish in this episode, but I really don't think that's going to happen. We're able to kind of isolate the fuel generators up there and get it up to a kind of consistent measure with what we are making, and got us almost to 17,000, which is pretty good. That should be enough to actually kind of turn on some of the systems that we have with the max consumption of 12,000, so we can actually run that factory over there and aluminum stuff and start making the Mark V belts that we're going to need, because I'm out of Mark V belts, and I have to do a lot of reworking with these belts and everything underneath here as it is, and I don't want to try to make it all work with pretty much just taking away from somewhere else and then moving it around, because it's not really going to solve anything. So we need to actually go to our other factory and turn that on to start making the alkali sheets, so we can finish our belts and finish this whole project. So we're going to go ahead and cross all the way over to the other side of the map, which is all the way over here, to get this set up. So I'm going to do all that. I'll be back in a second. We're back in our aluminum factory all the way over here, which we haven't been here in a couple episodes just because we've been doing all that in order to get this powered back on, and I think we have enough now. So we're going to go ahead and try to get this started. We're going to start flipping all these switches and hope that we don't kill the power. which I believe this one is for the water pumps, which I know, and I think this turns the train station back on, but I'm going to go check that out. Let's turn everything else on. Go ahead and hit this. Hit our foundries over here. So that's good. And then we have our last one here. That's kind of our big hitter. Maybe turning all of this stuff on. And it's already turned on. All right, so we turned everything back on over here, and it looks like we're doing okay. So things are still kind of keeping up. The consumption is pretty far off for where our actual thing is. And then our max consumption is good. I actually want to go make sure that my other factory is even on, this one over here, because I'm not sure that it is. I don't know exactly what was turned off and what wasn't, so I'm gonna have to check on all that and make sure that's good as well. But hopefully the entire world is on right now and everything's gonna go good. What we need to do over here is we're gonna set up a couple assemblers real quick to make some of these alkali sheets, just so that they can kind of make that in the background, and then we can use that for our stuff over there to kind of finish belting everything. So we're gonna go down here and set something up really fast with all of our copper and everything that we have, and then we're gonna see where we're at. So we got all of our sheets that we needed. We stopped over here at our little blue factory to make sure all of this is running, and this is all good. So that means that every part of our factory, our world right now, is running, which is very, very good news that we're able to keep up with this. But there's still a project to finish, so we're going to keep working on this power stuff over here, and hopefully in about a video or two we can move back onto what we were doing before. So let's keep moving. The good news is that it's an easier fix than I thought it was. Pretty much I just have to take off merger lines at the end of this, kind of connecting to the next system, and then just rearrange wherever it is. So like those aren't even set up, so that's really not that big of a deal. The only thing that really was a problem was stuff like this, like where it cuts off. I don't need to do all this. I can just make this one solid line, and each of these could be one single line, and then it should all work out with what's going on with the packagers over there. So that's really what I need to do. The unpackagers over here are the same system. They're just 10 hooked up as opposed to the 13 that I had originally. So all I'm really doing is taking off the ends of these and kind of getting rid of everything that runs up along this, because I don't really need all this stuff here. I just need them all to be lines of 10, which hooks up to our system really, really well. And that's what I should have did originally, but somewhere along the lines I got confused and just started placing stuff down, thinking that it was making sense to me, and I just confused myself. So we got this all fixed. I gotta hook up this line for the water, and then we're gonna see where we're at. So we have actually done quite a bit of work. We keep having to add the plastic containers into here to actually get this to keep up, because every time we start something new, it creates more volume for the plastic containers to sit there, and it's kind of causing a bunch of issues. So we're gonna keep adding stuff into that until we get it. We've redone the system down there a little bit, but we've pretty much got to a point now where a lot of the kinks are worked out. This line right here is running fairly good. It is still trying to figure out the manifold a little bit and kind of try to fill up stuff at the end, but overall we have a little bit of an overflow that's allowing this to kind of keep up. So this should be all good. These three right here is being fed into the same system as... It's not the same system. It's a different set of packagers, but it's the same pipeline for this over here. So the total fuel output is requiring these three off of different packaging lines to kind of get to the total. So this is actually helping this out and trying to keep this sustained a little bit. At the same time, all of these are pulling off it as well. So they're kind of like have 10 of these refineries supplying 3 of these packagers just to kind of get everything to the max capacity that it needs to. But all 10 of these right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, all 10 of these right here are keeping up at the full capacity, producing the full 600 line, which is allowing all those to run over there. I hooked it up about 20 minutes ago, and I've been letting it kind of run to see if it will actually keep up. And it was having some trouble initially, but I think it was just a matter of kind of letting it take its time, because it does have to pull from this entire line over here, and it is very loud over here. Let us to pull down this entire line and go all the way to the end. We're going to check on these real quick and make sure this is good. And as long as these are filling up pretty good, which they're not, but they're able to keep up at least, so that's all that matters. As long as they're not really shutting down and they're starting to actually get a full amount in there, then that means that this whole line is working and everything is finally running at 100% capacity. Now it's just a matter of hooking everything else up and then getting all these lines hooked up over here as well. So we're going to keep moving forward, and we're going to see what else we need to do to get this running. So we were working to set everything up. We hooked up a lot of these lines over here, and this should be ready to go for the most part. I got to set up that set of refineries right there. But in order to get this to run, I need the packaged water, and I've already used both of the full lines over here. I have a half line, which isn't going to be enough for this. I'm pretty much going to make the two half lines merge into each other to see what those numbers would be. I think it's going to be close enough to run the last little bit of this stuff down here. But I need to build the entire other side of the packaging water to actually get everything hooked up and running properly. So now I pretty much have to take this and repeat this over here and then hook up the rest of the water system down there as well and kind of get all that made. So now we're going to start working on this. We're pretty much going to copy everything that's on this side over to here. It's going to take me probably about an hour. And then I'll give you guys an update here when I can. All right, so that didn't take me an hour. It took me roughly about probably 25 minutes, but I've been just placing stuff like crazy, trying to get this project done because there is still so much work to do. But this side is now done. I did end up having to kind of do like a right angle here with the pipes, and I kind of like it a lot. The reason why I did this is because this is actually our access to kind of get up here to our level up top. So I turned this 90 degrees. I probably want to turn these ones 90 degrees as well because they can look a lot cooler, and that would kind of open up this area a little bit more for us to kind of get around instead of having to tuck between all these belts and all these pipes and everything. But in order to do that, I got to go down there and do all that stuff, which is what I'm actually going to be working on right now. So once I fill out the rest of the water extractors, I'm probably going to swap these lines over this way, and that's just going to be a little thing. I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. But right now, I need to move on to my next step, which is going down here and placing the rest of my water extractors. Before I do that, though, I want to go check on our system and see how it's running and make sure everything's still operating 100%. If I have any sort of discrepancies, then I need to figure that out now before I go too much further, because I'm pretty much basing everything else that I'm doing off of what is running already, and if that's not working properly, then everything else is going to work properly, and then I have more of a mess in my hands. So I'm going to check through everything, see how it's doing, and I'll be back in a little bit. So over here at the end, we're kind of checking this out. This right here is still pretty much exactly where it was when we left it over an hour ago, which means that this is operating at a pretty much perfectly maxed out number. It would be nice to maybe shut down a couple of these to let the elements fill up. That way it has some sort of reserve, and that's probably what we're going to do. And we shut off the two at the end there and leave those at 50 and kind of let the rest of these fill up along the way. And that way, if anything were to happen, it has some sort of buffer, as opposed to it trying to kind of restart the whole system all at once. We are going to build the second tower, which we talked about right here, and that's probably going to be our next episode. But this is going to be a tower specifically set just for putting a ton of batteries. And the batteries should give us time to have some sort of buffer in between our power system if we run into things again, which going up to 40,000 power should give us a pretty good amount of time before we have to worry about it again. And I'm hoping that we're going to have nuclear, but in the event that we don't have that done by that sort of time and we require way too much power for that factory over there, we can always use our batteries to kind of get us going for just a little while. So we're going to go back to what we're working on, which is going to be all these water extractors down here. All right, so late last night I got home and I did a bunch of work on these water extractors. I try not to record at night just because it's not something I really like to do. But I did get all this stuff done down here, so I placed the rest of the water extractors. They're kind of organized to the best they can. The rocks and stuff underneath here really kind of made it difficult to kind of figure out where I could place stuff, but I got it all worked out. And then I reran all the lines over to here, and I tried to organize them the best I could. They kind of come down and they come to this point right here, the various kind of outputs where they come in at. And then we have two pumps on the Mark IIs per line, because that's what it's kind of been over there, to make sure that it gets enough head lift to actually get up here and not have any trouble. So this is all hooked up. The only thing that's not hooked up is like where the packaging water can go, and then the actual packaged lines and the empty canisters. So all this stuff right here underneath here is hooked up, but it's not hooked up to the end over there where it actually needs to go to. So we're kind of waiting to get the rest of this set up before we finish all that, because I got to redo the buffer system down there. What we are going to do right now is I feel like I've got this worked out quite enough where I could actually start doing a second line of these fuel generators. So I've hooked up a lot of that stuff. You can kind of see the lines underneath there. We're going to hook that up right now and see if it's able to kind of support the system and run by itself. And this is kind of part of the reason why I wanted to hook this up, just to kind of see if I had the rest of this right. And I don't, because these are set up for 13. So now I have that set up for 10, and I have that set up for 10, and this is set up for 13, which means that this is never going to supply all this. So I have to change these belts underneath to kind of merge a little bit better. So we're going to fix this and get this down to just a 10 merger, or a 10 splitter, whatever you want to call it. So that way we don't have to worry about this. We can probably leave the split lines or the merge lines for the plastic containers like that, that's probably not a big deal. But the actual supply lines, these fuel stuff here, needs to be to 10, because that's coming off a 10 over there, and it's never going to be able to supply us correctly, which is probably why we're having issues down over there. So we're going to get this worked out. All right, so we fixed that. You can kind of tell the difference between this is where the 13 is right here for our return lines, and then this is all this stuff here. So these are now set up for the 10, and I got to go up top and see how they're doing, because this kind of changes how they were actually manifolding. Before we had only 600 of those fuel per minute on a 780 line that was supposed to run at 780 for the actual supply, and that was not working out how it was supposed to. So we're gonna let this run, kind of see how it's doing. We did have to shut this off for a little bit, kind of see what's gonna happen. Okay, that's a new problem. So we're gonna try to get this fixed, because now the canisters are full. Once I turned this system on, it just ran canisters through everything, so that means that this isn't getting out of here, which is a problem. So I may not have the return line hooked up. But we're gonna go try to get that taken care of, because this isn't gonna run at all with this stuff in here. So let me see what's going on down the line. So I knew this was going to happen, but when I set this merger line originally, it wasn't going to support multiple lines of this, because there is way more than just 780 of these package containers coming back here. So we just swapped off this one line, and now it's able to kind of go directly into the storage system. And then I fixed this splitter here. So this may be a problem, because this is still technically using split here, and we're going to have to figure out how to build this storage system a little bit better, because there's going to be a lot of issues with it. I have some ideas on how I think it should work. It's just wrapping my brain around it. I never had to use a buffer system like this, because I still want it to be able to overflow into the other ones. So I'll pretty much got to make a storage container like this, and then put an overflow behind it, and then run a whole overflow setup to where it can actually manifold into all this stuff over here, which is pretty much have to build this, and then a whole nother separate system. And then I still have another 3 lines of these Mark Vs over here that are going to be coming in from the actual other side of the packagers once I hook that line up as well. So this whole storage system down here is going to be really, really complicated, and it's nothing I've really had to deal with before. I could try to make like individual systems and like balance it out, but I just think it'd be easier to just make the manifold and kind of deal with all the overflow of it. So anyway, this is all fixed now. This is all moving pretty consistently. This stuff is able to kind of get off that line, which is the important part, and we got to go down there now and check how everything's doing. All right, so we got a whole lot of green lights, which is a really good sign. That means that all these are running. I don't know if they're necessarily running at 100%. We're gonna have to let them sit for a minute and kind of see how they react once the manifold is fully done its work. But all these solid green lights is a really, really good sign. We have a ton of green lights over there. All this stuff looks pretty solid, so I think we're going to be okay. It's just now giving it some time to run and seeing if it's going to be able to actually support another fuel line over there. So we're going to give it some time, and then we're going to see where we're at with everything. All right, so from one problem to the next, we started running all that, and it was actually going pretty good for a while. And then I noticed the packages were kind of slowing down at the end. They were kind of losing productivity a little bit. Then I came over here to these, and these are shut down occasionally, like this right here. I start looking at it, and we run out of heavy oil residue, which doesn't make sense. Like, okay, let me backtrack this. And then I go over to my heavy oil residue refineries all the way over here, and I can see that these are shutting down. I'm like, okay, well, what's the problem here? And these are really not making enough to support the system. Oh, sorry, this one. So I got a new problem on my hands, and I gotta figure out why this isn't producing it and why all these aren't pulling. And I believe that the most likely reasoning is because of the way the gravity fluid works here. Like, some of these are full and they're just getting stopped, and I'm worried about the manifold, and it pretty much tries to fill the bottom of the line, which is the manifold, and then it tries to lift it into where it needs to go, which is causing a bunch of problems. So I'm worried that I'm gonna have to pretty much move all the piping from down there up here, which is going to be a big ordeal, and I don't really want to do that. So at this point, I don't really know how to fix this. I'm going to take a break and try to get this video edited and get it out for you guys, and then I'm going to brainstorm on what I need to do next exactly, because I'm having an issue and I'm not exactly sure what the problem is. So I'm going to try to get that resolved in the near future. But as of right now, this will be the end of the video. We got really, really close to getting 2 of these lines set up. At this point, it is producing almost 15,000. The lines are almost at 100%. Run right now to probably like 95% efficiency, which is not enough for me for all the work that I put in here, but 95% has gotten us way over where we are. Let me run over here real quick and I'll hook this up. So yeah, as of right now, it's fluctuating pretty bad, but we got our production up to 22,000, give or take, 21, 22,000 around there. So there is a ton of fluctuation going on. Like pretty much this last 10 down this way are not even working at all. And these two over here, there's a couple over here that aren't working as well. So we are missing out on quite a bit of efficiency, and we're gonna have to kind of solve this problem, because the more that I turn on, the more that this shuts down. The only reason why those are really tied into each other is because they're on the same heavy oil residue line, and that's why that's having such a problem. So I got to figure out how the fluid dynamics work so I can get this problem solved. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe down below to follow the series. We will be back. If you hit the like goal of 15 by Friday night, I will post a bonus video, but if not, I will be back next Thursday. Either way, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week.